Hi, I'm Dennis Phillips, and welcome to Everyday Reloading and Shooting. Okay, in today's video, I'll be testing a new bullet which I just got, which is a Speer 75 grain TMJ, which stands for Total Metal Jacket Bullet. It looks like a full metal jacket bullet, except the back end of that bullet has a little area of lead exposed. With this bullet, it's completely enclosed in metal, and so they give it the name Total Metal Jacket. I've only had a little bit of experience with this bullet so far, and it doesn't seem to shoot quite as well as the Hornady ELD match bullets or the 75 grain boat tail hollow point. But we are going to shoot this today. And here's a picture of the target that we're going to be shooting. And we'll be shooting these at loads from 23.3 to 23.5 grains of powder with velocities from just under 2,500 feet per second to 2,600 feet per second. We will shoot 5 10-shot groups, and then we will compare these with the Hornady ballistics app using the group analysis function, and we'll see how they compare. All right, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be running a ladder test using Varget powder and a 75 grain Speer TMJ, that's Total Metal Jacket bullet. And I'll be shooting charge weights from 22.3 grains to 23.5 grains. And that should produce velocity just under 2,500 feet per second to 2,600 feet per second, which that 2,600 feet per second at 23.5 grains is the maximum charge weight for the Varget powder. So we're going to be shooting these at 100 yards. As always, you're welcome to enjoy the music while I fast forward through my shooting, or you can skip forward to the results that follow. All right, we're going to bring these in and take a look. They all seem to shoot somewhat similar. I had 2 groups that I'm really happy with, where I had some really tight clusters. And of course, we're shooting 10-shot groups. So let's take a look. All right. This was my fouling group. These were a 73 ELD match. They were loaded at the same charge weight as the TMJs. But this was my first shot right up here at the very top. So I turned it down I adjusted the scope 1 notch down, shot here. I adjusted it 1 more notch down, shot here. 1 more shot here, 1 more shot here. So then I went ahead and adjusted it down 1 more after that, even though I didn't have another shot to check it with. But I knew I would be good given the slight adjustment. And then we had these groups, and of course I deliberately shoot high so as not to destroy my point of aim here. This was my point of aim on every target. Got a flyer out here, but a fairly good cluster here. Got a flyer here and a pretty good cluster here. That'll be a good 9 out of 10. That 9 out of 10 there is going to be an inch or less. This, again, I was stringing diagonally. Somebody said it had to do with my breathing. So I think on these last two groups, I really focused more on my breathing. So I've got a really good cluster here. This looks like 1, 2, yeah, this is 5 shots together right here in one single hole. So that'll give me a good tight mean radius. Same over here. This is a larger group. This is going to be probably 1 1/4 inches to maybe 1 1/3 inches. But it's funny. It's like a box. It's like a rectangular box right there with a cluster in the middle. But we will take these home, measure them with the Hornady 4DOF Ballistics app using the group analysis function on that app, and we will see how they compare. Okay, we're back from the range and we've got our results here, so I'm going to share these with you in just a second. But here's a photograph of the entire target so you can see all of the groups, how they've been laid out all at once. And there's not a whole lot of difference between most of these. I did find a pretty decent group right here, but we're shooting a Speer 75 grain TMJ bullet, which is total metal jacket, completely encased in copper. And we're using Varget powder at charge weights from 22.3 to 23.5, with 23.5 being rated at 2,600 feet per second in velocity, and at 22.3 grains, just under 2,500. So on our fouling group, we shot really high, about 3 inches high, so I adjusted the scope down 2 clicks. It came to here, adjusted it down again 2 clicks, it came to here, adjusted it 1 more click, and then I shot here and here. So it was pretty much on centered, and that's pretty consistent with how the rest of these shot, was these last groupings here. So in the upper right hand of the screen here, I'm going to show you a screenshot from the Hornady Ballistics app where we have measured these groups. And of course, down here on the lower left side of the screen, just below my big fat body right here, I'm going to show you a photograph of the actual target. So at 22.3 grains, we're moving at just under 2,500 feet per second. The rifle is shooting 65 hundredths to the right and 1.5 inches high. This red cross that I've drawn here represents the average center of the group, and it corresponds to the white X on the Hornady screenshot over here. So the group, we had an extreme spread of 1.35 inches. We're shooting 10-shot groups, so when you shoot more than just a 3 or a 5-shot group, you can typically expect those to spread out somewhat. So we're at 1.35 inches here, and if you take this flyer out of it right here, you're probably at about 1 inch. And with a mean radius of 0.39, the way I score these, I look at that mean radius, and a radius is a half of a circle. So if that's 0.39, that means I've got an average group size of 0.78 inches. That's not truly the case because my group size was 1.35, but that's an average radius of all of your shots measured from that center point of impact out to each one of those shots, and then those numbers are averaged together, and that gives you the 0.39. At 22.6 grains of powder, we're going at just over 2,500 feet per second. The group is shooting about 0.6 of an inch to the left and still 1.5 inches high, so still shooting the same height. We had an extreme spread of 1.35 inches here, and we had a mean radius of 0.43. And so again, that mean radius, if you double that, that would give you a score of 0.86, or what I think of as an average group size. Moving on to 22.9 grains of powder. We're still shooting just about 1.5 inches high at 1.41 and 0.3 inches to the left. Our average group size is here. Our extreme spread is 1.58 inches because of this flyer that we've got out here. Otherwise, that would have been about 1.25 inches or so. Our extreme spread is 1.58, and even if you take that flyer out, it's still about the same because of these two shots here, top and bottom. But we had a mean radius of 0.47, so I would average that as a score of 0.94 as an average group size. Moving on to 23.2 grains, this was my best group of the day. And we shot this, we had an extreme spread of 1.14 inches. So on 10 shots, just over an inch. But if you take this one flyer out here, then that's going to give you your best 9 out of 10 at 0.86 overall. So very impressive there. A mean radius of 0.37. So you double that, and that gives you an average group size of 0.74. So average group on 10 shots, just under 3/4 of an inch. And then at 2,600 feet per second and 23.5 grains of powder, we're still shooting just over an inch high and 1/4 inch to the left. Our extreme spread from here to here is 1.49 inches with a mean radius of 0.46, giving you an average group size of 0.92. So I'm going to have to say here that our best group of the day was at 23.2 grains with the overall group size of 1.14 inches and a mean radius of 0.37. If you take that flyer out of there, that's going to lower that mean radius a little bit too. But your best 9 out of 10 at 0.86. So I'm going to recommend 23.2 grains of Varget powder to go with that 75 grain bullet. You have a really good chance. You have probably a 90% chance of hitting a 1-inch target at 100 yards with that round. And so I think you might want to give this a try and see how it shoots in your rifle. All right, those are my results. As always, I appreciate your input. So if you have a comment, a thought, or an idea, or a question, please leave that below. I try to interact with everybody that comments. And as always, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And thank you for watching.